Okay, this is video number 1 for summer government class, and it is discussing the birth of the United States government and the Articles of Confederation, which was our nation's first government. Well, as you know now, the Declaration of Independence declaring the United States a free and independent country from Great Britain was adopted by the Continental Congress on July 4, 1776. And the Continental Congress was simply a group of representatives from each of the 13 colonies, now states, that had assembled in Philadelphia and had drafted this declaration. But that group of people had no legal basis or real authority other than what they said that they had. So after they declared the United States an independent country, they realized they needed to have a national government. All of the 13 new states had just adopted their own state constitutions, setting up their own state governments. But the men assembled realized that they really needed a national government for this new country that they had declared. So they appointed one of their members, a guy by the name of John Dickinson, who drafted a first constitution for this national government that he entitled the Articles of Confederation. And the Continental Congress adopted that document in 1776. And what it was a loose confederation or alliance of 13 independent states. And it required, in order to become effective, that all of the 13 states approve this Articles of Confederation. And that took almost 5 years until 1781 to get all 13 states on board and approve it. So the Articles of Confederation finally became effective in 1781. And that was our nation's first constitution. And as you will learn in watching the video about this first constitution, it was quite flawed. The primary flaw in this first constitution, the Articles of Confederation, was that it formed a very, very weak national government. In fact, all of the 13 states basically retained their own sovereignty or their own final authority. And the national government had very little power to do anything. And that was primarily because these representatives, the former colonies of Great Britain, really feared, their biggest fear was to create a new government that would simply replace the British monarchy with a new monarchy that would be overbearing and suppress the new country. So that's why this new national government had very little power. The Articles of Confederation created a national government that consisted of only one branch, and that was Congress. It was a one-house Congress where each of the 13 states was equally represented, regardless of their size, namely the number of people in each state. So, for example, the small state of Rhode Island had one vote in this Congress, the same as the large states of Virginia, New York, Pennsylvania. Like I say, this Congress had very little power. The primary power that it lacked was the power to tax. So a government cannot, the only way it can raise money is to tax its citizens. So if it can't do that, there's very little that it can do. All this Congress could do is to request money from the states. And the states were very reluctant to give this Congress any money. The states continued to do kind of their own thing. They each had their own currency or money. They each had their own military, such as it was. and they each had set their own rules for trade. So if maybe Pennsylvania wanted to protect Pennsylvania farmers, they would either not allow goods from other states to be sold within Pennsylvania, or if they did allow it, they would tax those goods that were coming in from other states, so they were far more expensive than the goods grown by Pennsylvania farmers. So this created great trade wars between the various states. Also, this national government under the Articles of Confederation had no court system, and it had no real leader, one executive leader or president that could sort of be a guiding force for the entire country. So let's see, I've kind of blown through this. You can scroll through and read through this PowerPoint. So this is John Dickinson, who drafted the Articles of Confederation. And here's a list of really the flaws in the government created under the Articles of Confederation. So as a result of these many flaws, the country was not functioning very well, and this brand new baby country was in real danger of literally falling apart. It was really not one country at all. It was 13 separate independent states or countries. So there were a couple people, Alexander Hamilton, believed that this new country needed a much stronger national government that would really put it together and make it function properly. And he went and he convinced George Washington to come out of retirement and take a hand in leading a new effort to reform this national government. So a meeting was held, and delegates or representatives from every state were invited to come to a meeting in Philadelphia in 1878, and they met in the very same room where the Declaration of Independence was adopted. And all states sent representatives to this meeting except for Rhode Island. Rhode Island just simply was not interested. They wanted to continue operating on their own. So the delegates from the 12 states that did meet in Philadelphia, and their purpose was to try to fix these flaws in the Articles of Confederation. They worked for about 5 days, and finally they came to the conclusion on the 5th day that the flaws in the Articles of Confederation were just so great that they could not be fixed. So what they then decided to do is to tear them up and start over. They said, well, we can't fix them, so we need to start again and draft an entire new constitution, creating a new government for this new country. And that will be the story for the next video. Okay, thanks a lot. And you can finish assignment number 3.